the launch of the automated valuation system model of the real estate, and I would like to introduce our today's speakers. I will be moderator Yulia Belova, Deputy Head of the State Property Fund of Ukraine, and today this very important news will be announced by Dmytro Sennychenko, Head of the State Property Fund, Alan Buster, Deputy of the USA Mission in Ukraine, and I will introduce initially video that will present this service because I'm responsible official for the launch of this service, and after that we will be glad to answer the questions from the participants, and we will start from the welcome word of Dmytro Sennychenko. Thank you, Olga. I'm very glad to see all who joined us here in the room and those who are with us online. And we will talk today about the valuation services, because State Property Fund, as the institution that is implementing policies on state regulations in this area, wants to implement reform that is consisting of particular strategies and tactics, and of course it takes time to implement those reforms, but if we will develop a consistent policy, we need support from the people's deputies, and we will need support from the cabinet of ministers, and we need good cooperation with the associations of the entities in this area. And the reform of the valuation activities is all about fairness. Fairness that we have to provide to the citizens of Ukraine on one side, to the businesses who are using this kind of services, and to the fairness for the state, because on one hand state wants to collect taxes from the real estate purchase agreements, and maybe some people don't want to pay too much taxes. But fairness, it's mean when all parties are satisfied, we see transparency, when we don't see corrupt practices, and that's the goal of our comprehensive reforms in this area. So we fighting corruptions, and we taking into account the interests of all involved parties, businesses, citizens, and state. So what are these four components of this comprehensive reform? Number one is we eliminating intermediaries. You might remember that in 2020, on February 1st, after respective law was adopted, the SPFU liquidated 4 intermediaries that were acting in the sphere of real estate valuation. We intended to open a free service instead of those 4 paid intermediaries. Since February 2020, Ukrainians saved more than 1 billion of hryvnia, and we have to remember this figure, because each agreement that was concluded via those intermediaries was held via private companies who charged certain amount for their services, and state fund made that service free of charge for the citizens. And this was our first goal in this comprehensive reform of valuation system activities. And next goal was creating free service of real estate valuation, and to have a unified database of the real estate transactions, because when the real estate deed is registered by the notary, they have to report to the SPFU, and in order to get the valuation of their property, citizens had to go to private evaluators, and now citizens have an options. They can refer to the AVM, and get a certificate, and based on that certificate to conclude the real estate deed, or they can go to the appraisers and receive a report from them, and of course that service will be not free of charge. Yulia will speak more about that procedure, and we will be glad to answer your questions. But going ahead, I want to inform you about the next two parts of this comprehensive reform that we are intended to finalize this year. Number one was to eliminate intermediaries. Number two is to implement AVM in the evaluation of real estate grids. And third one is developing draft law and on eliminating fractional evaluation. As per today, Ukraine has such a rudimentary feature as when a person is selling a household, they have to go to two different appraisers. One appraiser is evaluating the building itself, and the second appraiser is evaluating the land lot, and then these pricings are merged, and then we have to make two real estate deals. We developed a separate draft law that will make that procedure possible by a single deed. So when we're talking about transactions in rural areas where you have a landlord and the building built on that landlord, that procedure will be simplified. We facing opposition and to this law, and we have an alternative draft law, but with help of the associations and the citizens, we will be able to finalize the draft. And the final step of this comprehensive reform, after we will liquidate the fractional valuation. Number 4, it will be a revolutionary step, implementing international valuation standards on the real estate that is valuated in Ukraine, because as per today we have 13,000 registered appraisers who are using Ukrainian standards of valuation, which were adopted in 2001. And these standards at the moment are not cannot be called quite fair enough, and we have a lot of complaints that the result of the valuation doesn't reflect the real market value of that real estate property. And working together with the experts from the World Bank, after studying the experience of other countries who transitioned from their local standards of real estate evaluation to the international standards, we developed a draft law that we will submit to the Parliament for this year. I will not elaborate on that, but today's event is one of the 4 important stages of the comprehensive reform, in particular the automated valuation model. Yulia will elaborate on this step. Thank you, Dmytro. This was a very brief overview of the reforms in the area of real estate valuation, but I want to draw the attention of the participants to the main topic of today's event. And we are launching automated valuation model for the real estate for the purpose of taxation. We are proud and happy that we were able in very short time to implement the requirements of the law, and we were able to introduce a very difficult IT system that is collecting large amount and data from various sources. And SPFU managed to launch this project not by the state funds, because there were certain part of our funds had been transferred to COVID fund, and with the help of USAID and the people of United States, we were able to introduce this system free, not from the state budget, by thanks to the international donor support. And we appreciate, all Ukrainians appreciate implementation of these systems, that we don't have to face the delay and further budget allocation for this system. And we are very grateful to our partners and donors. And I want to pass the floor to Alan Purccell, who is a deputy USAID mission in Ukraine. Please, Alan, the floor is yours.
And good morning. I'm Alan Purccell from the U.S.Embassy. Thank you for inviting me to help launch the automated valuation model software system. It's an important tool for increasing accuracy and transparency in the residential property appraisal process. And as we know, transparent automated processes also reduce the opportunities for corruption. The AVM software system is the result of long-standing cooperation between the State Property Fund of Ukraine, the World Bank, and the U.S. Agency for International Development. The U.S. interest in assisting Ukraine on this effort is simple. As President Biden underscored last month in a presidential memorandum on the fight against corruption, combating corruption is a core U.S. national security priority. His decision to elevate the fight against corruption worldwide in our list of priorities recognizes what everyone here knows. Corruption cripples societies, steals from the pockets of tax-paying citizens, destroys public trust in governing institutions, and undercuts the world's decades-long investments to improve lives across every dimension of human society. That is why eliminating corruption is also a core goal of U.S. assistance across all of the areas in which we provide support to Ukraine, from energy to health, agriculture, judicial reform, and much more. And reducing corruption is an important part of our efforts to help Ukraine to standardize and digitize processes, improve state services, and contribute to the development of a transparent and competitive economy. The AVM will also benefit the government of Ukraine by ensuring that needed tax revenues are collected fairly and equitably to in turn fund critical government services to Ukrainian citizens. It will also help foster a better business enabling environment for investment and economic growth. It is one more tool for ensuring a strong and independent Ukraine grounded in the Western values of freedom, democracy, and a market economy. I would like to acknowledge the strong support of SPFU Chairman Sennychenko, Deputy Chair Yulia Belova, and the rest of the SPFU team who worked to deliver this new system, and to the Ministry of Economy for its strong, consistent support. We have been impressed and inspired by Chairman Sennychenko's leadership in increasing transparency and strengthening accountability of the SPFU. The SPFU's automated valuation system proves that when there is will and commitment, tangible improvements in public services can be achieved. Again, my congratulations on a job well done to Chairman Sennychenko, his team, and all who participated in this effort. Thank you.
I would like to use this opportunity to thank Mr. Alan Purccell as representative of the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. the US, we get a lot of help of support from USAID in all the reforms that we're implementing. Today we are represented valuation activity, but the progress and success that we managed to achieve in the area of small privatization was also due to the active support of USAID. Also thanks to the Americans, thanks to American citizens who pay taxes and which are allocated then to the help of Ukrainian reforms. That is why we would like to thank USAID, to thank the U.S.Embassy in Ukraine. We have a lot of reforms waiting us ahead. That is why cooperation of the SPFU, the Ministry of Economic Development, the Cabinet of Ministers, the Parliament of Ukraine, and the Office of the President of Ukraine with our international donors is very important. Let me reiterate that only to this cooperation it is possible to implement reforms. When we have shared vision, when we have a legal framework, and when we have resources to implement these reforms. That is why I would like to thank the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine for their help and cooperation. And now I will give it over to Yulia, who will present you the automated valuation model in more detail. Thank you so much, Dmytro. Thank you so much, Alan. And now we can proceed to a more detailed discussion about the automated evaluation model, why and for which purpose it is used, what are its technical specifications, and I will share my presentation about this model which you see on the screen. Let me start with the first slide. Here you can see exactly what Mr. Sennychenko has been telling you about. This service of automated valuation of real estate is the second stage of the implementing the law of Ukraine, which was adopted in 2019. This second stage offers a better unified database of valuation reports with an additional service for the citizens, the electronic certificate of the real estate value. Thanks to the first stage of this reform, the citizens of Ukraine have managed to save about 1 billion hryvnias, and we hope that every year citizens of Ukraine will be able to save a lot of money using this service. This service of automated valuation of real estate value is an alternative. This is not this is a choice that we provide to each and every citizen of Ukraine. Before that, citizens of Ukraine had only one option: to use services of valuers to pay from 500 hryvnias and to get a report that they had to wait for quite a long time. Now we provide this alternative opportunity to use a report about the valuation of the price using internet. It doesn't require physical visit to any institution. It takes about 5 minutes, and it's very easy to use. Of course, we understand that citizens of Ukraine might have more standard real estate objects for which this valuation model is an excellent way, but they also might have more unique objects that they will still require market value that is offered by valuers. That is why, let me reiterate that our service is not unique, it's an alternative, and it doesn't mean that people won't be able to use services of appraisers. We see a lot of advantages in introducing this service. First, this is what I've already told you. For citizens of Ukraine, this is the opportunity to save their money and to use this service within a short period of time. This service is free. You only need to use your ID identificator. It is free for use. Launching this service is a comprehensive part of launching unified database evaluation reports, which has been improved. We have broadened the sources of data, so this module evaluates the property value in an accurate way. That is why we think that using this new service will prevent from understating market value, understanding the value of real estate, and it will contribute to the transparency of the real estate market. Because we understand that the direct function of this service is to provide citizens with a certificate, so it simplifies the process of taxation of real estate. But this certificate is free. Not only owners of real estate can get this certificate, but any user, because only objects of real estate are identified using this service, and only using the data that are filled in this system. That is why we think that this service will contribute to further transparency over the real estate market in Ukraine, because every person will be able to check approximate real estate value. I would like to reiterate and to remind you about the sources that the automated valuation model uses. This is also a unique function of the AVM, which was added thanks to launching of this new law. It uses three sources of data. The first one is the external market data. We use the indicative proposals and analogs using concrete parameters of each object of real estate, which we take from the platform of Loon and OLX. The state fund, property fund of Ukraine has signed memorandums with Loon and OLX, and we get confidential data from them. This is data about indicative values of real estate objects. We also use data from reports, from valuation reports, which has been added to the database by valuers. And the third source of data is an absolutely new one, which was added after the law has come into full force. It has come into full force from the 29th of June this year. It's the opportunity to fill in the factual market of the factual value of real estate sale and purchase agreements. Let me also tell you that the data is also anonymous, without any identifiers of these agreements. The final amounts of the agreements are related to the place of location of this real estate object. One more procedure which was improved in this unified database of valuation reports. This is a process of review of valuation reports. I would like to say that we get a lot of comments on our Facebook page, in other social media, that in some cases there are difficulties among valuers because the unified database often underestimates the value. That is why some reports do not get registered automatically at once. I would like to tell you more about that. That's true. The algorithm of the unified database have been improved. That is why it doesn't allow the for automated underestimation of the value, and the user can send their report to the State Property Fund of Ukraine for review. So this is in fact a review of the report. We check whether this report corresponds to the criteria. That is why before this procedure was also valid. Before, if the unified database didn't register a report, the evaluators could submit this report for review. But in the past, this procedure was lengthy and quite complicated, using paper form documents. From now on, we will provide citizens the opportunity to use the simplified process of review, which allows within the 5 days after the system hasn't registered a report, a person evaluator can use his account to send this report for a review to the State Property Fund of Ukraine. Within the 5 days, the State Fund will have to respond to this application form, and the status of this report will be automatically changed. For example, that this report has been reviewed, it has been approved, and it can be registered or rejected if it doesn't correspond to the criteria. I would also like to add that we, as the State Property Fund of Ukraine, together with our donors, made sure that our end users are satisfied. We understand that this is a new service for Ukraine, and we need to get used to it. We need to tell citizens of Ukraine much more about this potential opportunity, and we need to make this service as user-friendly and intuitive as possible. Unfortunately, we cannot do everything at once. Not all of the parts of these instruments can be done easy to use at once. That is why we have a tutorial in the PDF form, a link to which you can find on the website of this new service. There is also a video tutorial on how you can use this service. We also wanted to help users who have more non-standard types of property, because we allow for registration of 18 types of property, such as cottage houses, garages, and other types of real estate. So we curated a PDF format and a video format of a tutorial, which all users can use. That is why please visit our page, where you will also find a Q&A session. And now I suggest, to wrap up my presentation, I suggest that we listen not only to people, but to take a look at the video, which will tell you in a short way, in short, about this service. Thank you so much, and please take a look at the video. Automated Real Estate Valuation Service is a free online tool of real estate valuation for every citizen of Ukraine. To use the service, visit the website Evaluation.spfu.gov.ua and push the Enter button. You can complete your registration using a file key, a hardware key, or your government ID Gov.ua. The service is user-friendly and intuitive. The user has to fill in the form with the relevant valuation information, and the system will generate a real estate valuation certificate, which can be downloaded or printed. The State Property Fund of Ukraine has developed a detailed tutorial on how to use the service, which can be found on their website. An appraiser uploads a valuation certificate to the unified database, as the notary public then reviews the report. After the real estate transaction is completed, the notary approves of the review, fills in the real price of the transaction to the database, and prints out the extract. Thus, the database will be constantly fed with the new relevant information from Loon and OLX. The database will be constantly fed with information which is essential to calculating the most accurate value of real estate.
Thank you, dear participants of today's event. And I suggest that we go to our Q&A session, because that's all from us at the main part. The question is, does the United States has the similar alternative for? Do we have same choices for the citizens of United States when they are evaluating their real estate, like automated system of valuation and going to the appraisers, private appraisers?
Than I'm capable of answering, but I do think that from our view, this is based on best practices and is an important step forward for transparency and consistency. We can try to find out more information about what models are used. It might be different ones in different parts of the United States, I suspect, but we can look into that for you.
I will add some comments. Ви запитали питання, чи
You asked if United States has citizens has choice whether to use automated system or to use the private appraisers services. United States moved far ahead comparing to Ukraine. If we make Google search about the United States, they keep all records about all real estate transactions for the decades, for the last decades. What people get from that this kind of records, because they have very strong refinancing system, because citizens giving down payment for the real estate, and then they take a loan which is paid by bank. But when you want to move, you can sell this property, even having a mortgage on it, but you don't have to finalize that previous mortgage. And for very long period, United States, you can track the pricing of the real estate in each region, and there was a separate reform that was implemented regarding the realtors' activities, because when realtors they are deemed responsible, they are licensed, and they are responsible for the pricing that they put into the generalized database system. But we cannot compare to the steps that we're making in Ukraine with the system that is implemented now in United States. Will this service be different for the commercial and non-commercial real estate? I will answer. We have 18 different types of real estate objects that can be entered into the unified database in order to these types include commercial real estate property, because citizens can buy, sell, inherit not only residential real estate but also commercial real estate. And for the purpose of taxation, this database is made for the purpose of taxation, and so we have a non-residential real estate, trade real estate property, like car garage, residential. We have 11 types of residential property, dorm, apartment, cottage, townhouse, and so on. And we have a separate type for the non completely constructed real estate. And based on the big data that we are receiving into this database from real agreements, deeds that were made by notaries and registered by notaries, from the data of the SPFU, from the databases of Loon and OLX, we get a large knowledge base, and the more data we get, the more precise we will be able to evaluate the price of the particular real estate object. We see that we see already quite good sharpness of the valuation system, and we will improve it with time. Next question. Good day. Столична нерухомість, Stanislav Terterev. The question will be addressed to Ms. Yulia. You launched this system on June 30, and we are working closely with the Kyiv realtors, and we tested in day 1 and day 2 this system. And our first feedback from me personally and from a number of my colleagues, we want to mention that system currently gives pricing higher comparing to the market value, approximately 10-15% higher comparing to the real market, like in the mid-level real estate price. In the high level real estate segment, the price is overestimated by 40%. We need to make corrections now in order because automatically it sends seller or buyer to the appraiser, to the private appraiser, and he goes to the standard procedure that people were used to. I want to say, yes, that we already receiving feedbacks that certain real estate objects are overpriced via our system. But at the same time, SPFU, we did internally certain beta tests because we have more than 500 employees, and among our employees we did like kind of beta test. We were able to discover that in large cities, service is able to provide very precise information. Yes, of course, there is always room for certain bargaining. Yeah, when you publishing your real estate for sale, you put certain amount for bidding. Yes, sometimes in some results you can have overpriced estimation because when the real estate object was placed, quite old real estate object is now situated around newly built real estate objects. Yes, then this algorithm might not always give precise figure. Yes, the law gives us the room of 25% in the amount of evaluation, because different real estate objects can have the different actual market value, because our automated valuation system gives only approximate figure. When we were opening like OLX and we wanted to check among the similar real estate objects, and we can see that the report the database is in line with those figures, because those data are the source for the reporting figure. But still, everyone has an option to go for the appraiser's service. A short comment or suggestion: will there be any in public access very detailed algorithm on how to use this service. You showed it on the slide. I know it's a newly launched service, and in order for search engines to so there will be a public description of the algorithm of the evaluation system. When we're talking about the state about public institutions, all information is public. All information about how the database is maintained, how the valuation pricing algorithm is working is available at the web page of the SPFU. These documents are available and you can see them. I want to warn that the formulas of the algorithm and the general calculations of the algorithm are specified as restricted. And why? Because we saw that in previous years, certain, I don't say it's a total practice, but we saw examples of misuse of the mechanism of the system, how the system is functioned. Our fund is constantly monitoring the activity of the appraisers and stops attempts of manipulating with the algorithm, stops access of the appraisers to the database, or even cancels licenses. We had such cases, and we don't want for such cases to continue. After we improved our database, the algorithm were defined as for restricted access, but the general information is available. Can you tell us what part of the big data are from Loon and OLX? What part of the database consists of the information from notaries? And what is the time period for which you keep this data? Like you 6 months, for the last 6 months, or like for the last year? Yes. Thank you for your question. I want to say that ratio about data from OLX and from the ratio from the information in from the notaries is it's a restricted information. What I can say that the share of the real deeds is minimal, because we since June 30, notaries only started to make inputs into our databases, and we will increase that ratio with time as we will get more information from the notaries. And with regards to the time from the external sources, information that is taken into the database is based on the 6 months validity time, because we understand that the price for the real estate always fluctuates and it changes constantly, and therefore the data that we're taking from the outer source will be not older than 6 months. And we saw the surveys that apartments priced less than 50,000 USD are rising in price in last quarter, and that increase is about 10-15%, and maybe that trend is pushing the results of our system. Before we wait for the next question, we saw a quite interesting tendency in 2020 with regards to the real estate deeds. When the corona crisis hit in in the spring of 2020, the market reacted drastically, and a lot of deeds were postponed. And everyone who planned to invest into real estate, they postponed their decisions. But when people just saw that life is not and doesn't end with the corona crisis, and this delayed demand was had shown the increase in real estate deals in autumn. This now we are in 2021. We are in the mid-year, and we see that increase in number of the real estate deals, and we see increase in the price of the real estates because of the improvement in the in this. So real estate is still the main investment tool for majority of Ukrainians, but we urge you to also invest into small privatization. And greetings, Channel Ukraine. Question to Dmytro or Yulia. Let's talk about the corruption part of the real estate valuation. How much this automated system will improve the this situation with the corruption? All this comprehensive reform of the evaluation is about fairness and fighting corruption. Fairness is when citizens are satisfied and a state receives its taxes, and the market players understand how to behave on the market. So automated valuation system is eliminating corruption because we eliminate intermediaries. People don't have to pay to the intermediaries. Like more than 1 billion hryvnia were saved for the citizens, and I think the appraisers are also interested in fair. In fair play rules, but of course we have so-called black market appraisers, and they are ready to decrease the real market price of the evaluated property in order to make a buck. But so what this system is like to make this reform comprehensive. It will be to implement international standards in real estate evaluation when property business landlords will be evaluated according to internationally accepted standards and rules. This will be next very important way to fight corruption.
In 2021, the SPFU has stopped 1,000 valuers from the database. Certificates of 82 these valuers were removed. So it is much more than in 2019. We undertook this task seriously to follow the valuers. But we believe that the solutions must be systemic, and automated solutions is the step forward. May I ask you another question? What is the demand for this service? Maybe you have statistics. Thank you so much for the question. Let me share the statistics. I was waiting for a question like this. That is why I do have this information. On the first day after the launch of the system, 3,500 people used it, and 1,500 notaries reviewed the evaluation reports and made agreements. As of now, after several days after the launch, because it was launched in the morning of 29th of June, we have more than 25,000 of reports. We understand that using this service not only citizens can use this service not only when they conclude an agreement at the notary's office. They just want to use it to understand the prices. As of now, notaries has concluded more than 10,000 agreements according to the data. Thank you. What about your plans for the future? Are you going to improve the service? Yes. I would like to say that we already have plans for further development of this service. We would like to improve auxiliary parts of this service. We have the registry of valuers and appraisal activities. We have other components for administration inside the fund. So we will focus on this part of the improvement of the system, and of course, in 6 months, we plan to review the algorithm, especially at comparing different sources. Notaries, in 6 months, they will feed in information to the database. That is why we will have these bases to improve the system. Thank you so much, everyone, for getting here today to listen to our presentation. So let me reiterate, this is about cooperation, this is about fairness, so this is about help of international donors. So let's do it all together, step by step. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you so much for coming here to our event. Thank you. Enjoy your day.